All right, today we're checking out this very cool pedal. Hopefully very cool pedal. This is from Earthquaker Devices. This is a type of guitar pedal, or I guess you could use it on bass or anything, that I've never used before in like the signal chain of an instrument. I have plenty of these that I've used as plugins and on the recording side of things. It's called the Warden. It is an optical compressor. You know, I've hung out with some guitar players and they've all managed to have a compressor pedal, and I thought, let's add one in. I'm slow to the roll with the pedals. I have jumped right into the overdrives and fuzzes and delays, and this year I've kind of branched out a little bit. Anyway, this is the newest edition, so here's what it looks like. Looks very, very cool. Earthquaker always seems to have really great looking pedals, as well as sounding pedals. So you've got that, and you got your inputs and your power right there. All right, so on the top of it, we have our tone knob and attack release, obviously for the compressor. Then you have your level, which I believe is an output level. I'll have to double check that. Your ratio and your sustain. So the sustain knob is the heart of the Warden, the user manual says. It controls how hot the signal is, which changes the dynamics of the compression. You know, it's kind of like 1176. Crank the input and you get more compression. Max sustain equals heavy compression and longer sustain, hotter signal and more lively attack and release. The hotter we want this thing to go, the more we crank the sustain, is how it seems. And the sustain knob has like a interesting feel when you turn it all the way up. There's a little bit of a resistance that you get about 80% of the way. So yeah, let's plug this in. I want to try this on electric guitar. Maybe I'll do something kind of a finger picking clean signal without the compressor in, and then with it. And maybe let's try a bass on it too. That might be fun. Again, I've never used a compressor pedal on a pedal board with an instrument, but obviously here in the studio, you can use pedals not only on instruments, but also to reamp through and to mix with. So this will be a fun addition. And if you want to check it out, there's a link to it in the description. Let's set it up. Okay, so I've pulled my pedal tray a little as close as I can get it to me. I have the Warden now in my chain. A couple notes on the chain here. I am going into a Rev G20. By the way, if you haven't seen those amps, they're very cool. High gain tube amps. I'm on the clean channel, but we're going to compare before and after with the Warden. We'll start with that. Okay, so the settings on the Warden right now are the tone is low. I have the tone low, not all the way down, but low. I'll put the attack and the release just straight up the middle. I'll pull the level like halfway and ratio halfway. Let's start with the sustain like up the middle, 12 o'clock. And then I'll crank it because I want to hear this thing cranked. Right now, the Warden is not engaged. It is bypassed. So here's what the guitar sounds like. No effects, just clean. Okay, and then let's flip on the compressor here. This is the Warden at all those settings I just told you. Wow, way louder. Okay, let me pull the level down a little bit. Okay, so here's out. Wow, definitely much warmer. So I'm using the level knob as my output. That feels closer to... Wow, yeah, it's messing with the tone a little bit. That's cool. I'm going to turn the tone knob up first. This is halfway up. That's nice. I'm going to crank the tone. Sounds very nice. It still seems louder. Wow, listen to that change. Crazy. So I'll do some like harder strumming. Warden in. Wow. Okay. Let's crank up the sustain a bit. Something tells me it's going to get louder. Yeah. Okay, so I've pulled my amp level down a little bit. This is the sustain all the way up on the pedal. Wow, you can definitely hear that. Wow, huge tone shift. Again, I have the tone knob all the way up, so it sounds like it's adding some mids and a little bit of high end when I kick it on. All right, let's do finger picking. And then for context, without the pedal. All right, I'm going to dial down the sustain a little bit. And I'm pulling back the tone just a little bit. So it's a little more consistent in the tone. Tones at about 70%. Attack and release are still straight up the middle. Level is 10 o'clock. Ratio is right up the middle, and the sustain is probably about 3 o'clock. Those are the settings. Let's compare it with some effects. I'm going to kick on a delay and some reverb. Okay, so this is no pedal. Let's turn the pedal on. That's freaking cool. Yeah, I'd probably just leave this on all the time. That's my guess. It's going to probably result in much more consistent sound and tone across the board, controlling those dynamics a bit. It's beautiful. I mean, this is a great chain. We're going to try the bass. So for bass, I have the American Pro, and I am going into a DI. This is a Rupert Neve active DI, so there's phantom power going to it from my preamp, which is the Warm Audio 73. All right, here is a fast A/B test. This is the bass DI, just straight in. I'm not a bass player, so we'll do a little. With the compressor pedal. So obviously I can drive into it a little bit harder here. The tone knob is on the pedal is clearly adding in some mid-range. I'm going to see if I can do my best to match the tone. All right, I think this is as close as I'm going to get to matching the tone and the volume between bypassed and active with this compression pedal. So I'll do one more test of just that little riff. The first half I'm doing more like open playing, not that this matters, and then the other part is a little more muted. You know where I think this would be very useful is if I was picking the bass and I was doing a little more of a driven part. Let's try it. Yeah, I think that's definitely the move with the bass is if you're doing more of a picked thing, and this is bass players, guitar players, let me know down in the comments. This is just me using it one time, my assessment. Very useful pedal, and I like that you get the tone flexibility, the fact that it's gain driven with the sustain, so you can really lean into it or back off of it very easily. If I'm doing it on bass, it would be more of like probably a rock type of thing I would use it for, to get that more consistent compressed sound going into the rest of my chain. And then on guitar, I'd probably wind up just overusing this pedal. Sounds better. Let me know what you guys think down below in the comments. There's a link to this if you want to pick one up or just check it out. Thank you, Sweetwater, for sponsoring this video. Also, if you're playing guitar or bass and you're looking for something fun to play to or to write to, I actually just released a drum sample and loop pack on my website. It's linked in the description as well. It's $35. There's 605 drum loops, a bunch of drum samples and one-shots. Very useful for just sitting around and playing with something that's a little more interesting than a metronome. So yeah, if you guys want to check that out, that'd be great. Okay, bye.